good service is about the feeling, the emotional feeling that you have when you arrive in a hotel.
And in a sense, staff are those stars. They make money for the company. So why you treat them like staff? You're supposed to treat them like your best salespeople.
You ask for pasta, they don't have the pasta. So it happened to me when I arrived in Phnom Penh, and then they go to hide in the kitchen and they don't come back anymore. We expect them to interact. We expect them to be self-confident. We expect them to be able to say no.
Some tourists, maybe not in the best mood, come and ask for specific things. Service staff doesn't understand it. Customer gets angry.
But when I walked in, I was assaulted by the dark energy emanating from Monica at the front desk. Okay.
Was that you?
I don't believe someone would really say that. Shoot you dead. That's really quite extreme.
In 2017, a luxury hotel in London, the Conrad London St. James, offered guests the unique service of a penguin personal assistant named Monty. Monty, a Humboldt penguin, was dressed in a custom-tailored tuxedo and was available to accompany the guests on walks around the city, offering a whimsical and memorable experience for visitors staying at the hotel. Hotels are willing to go substantial lengths to provide unique customer experiences, but we shouldn't forget that service is what affects customer experiences the most.
That's why we wanted to start our journey into Cambodian hospitality from exploring the concept of service. Welcome to Fully Booked, your podcast from hospitality for hospitality. We have traveled to Siem Reap today to record this episode. With me is my co-host Jana, the founder of Alex Labs, an e-learning platform for English and soft skills designed for hospitality staff.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Marco, my co-host, CEO, and head brewmaster at Botanico Brewing Company. At Fully Booked, we aim to bring insights, trends, and thought leaders from Cambodian hospitality.
Today's episode is called 10% Service Fee. And we are excited to discuss this multidimensional concept with the director of the most prestigious hospitality school in the country, Francois Schnobelen. Francois, thank you so much for having us today here. Could you please briefly introduce yourself as well as the school?
So I'm Francois Schnobelen. I'm the director of École d'Hôtellerie et de Tourisme Paul de Brûle, founded 22 years ago in Cambodia by the founder of Accor Group, Paul de Brûle himself. It is an NGO. It is also a school oriented to excellence, and we are managed together by EHL and by the foundation of Paul de Brûle.
Yeah, we were welcomed here very nicely by your colleagues, by the way. I have to say a big thank you. And let's dive right into it with this following question, Francois. What is good service, and what are some good service universals?
It's good to start with this question because you know that I come from Rosewood hotel groups, and here we have a concept called relationship hospitality. The relationship hospitality is about all about the service. We always mention, you know, Rosewood Group is a luxury group, and luxury is not about all the gold you put on the walls. It's all about service. It's all about the experience that the guests can get there. And as experience, the good service is about the feeling, the emotional feeling that you have when you arrive in a hotel. So first of all, you all know that when you arrive in a hotel, we work a lot on the wow, right? So the first wow, when the people arrive, they must be impressed by, of course, the environment, but impressed by the big smile, the big welcoming feeling they have. That's extremely important. And this big first wow is really a key component of the success of the stay. So we work a lot on that. Someone asked me, was it difficult to teach hospitality in Cambodia because it's not the same standards and things? And I said, we are really lucky here. Maybe the educational level is not really high compared to some other countries, but at least culturally, in this country, they have something that we maybe don't have in Western world. It's really a blessing to teach hospitality to people who have that in their soul. They have that in their heart.
Yeah, and actually, I've heard it many times. Tourists comment on how hospitable Cambodians are and how warm they are in comparison with other countries in the region. It's really it's a gold mine basically for hospitality industry. But you already answered partly to this question, but we just wanted to know a bit more and maybe take a look at a different angle. How is service expectation different in the Western idea of hospitality and here in Cambodia or maybe in Asia as a whole? So the expectation of a good service, because there are some universals. You mentioned first impression and everybody cares about this, but also there are differences. There must be some.
If we speak about the expectation, do we speak about the expectations of the guest arriving? So the guests are sometimes Western, so they would expect something different in Asia than in their own countries. That could be. The guests, when they arrive here, they need to experiment something different than what they have in their country. The expectations of the European tourist in Europe is not the same as the same tourist in Asia. What they expect more here is more it's being in an environment which is different than what they are used to have. So experimenting the culture, and by the service we provide them, having a little bit of this culture. So it's what we see. For instance, the very easy thing, we don't expect to be said welcome, bonjour, good morning, but we are expected to have the joint hand with the beautiful smile and a little bit humble and shy, which makes it completely in another universe. When we teach service here, we teach that we need to focus on our culture here in Cambodia. So we have a minimal standard, which is universal, and that's the minimum requirement. If we don't get that, we have a problem, of course, because they expect that. But we need to bring them a little bit of dream in the service. And the dream is, welcome to our country. You will see Cambodia is a very gracious country, very relaxed country. So the image they have from the country, we need to bring that into service.
Yeah, so I really like that because especially in times of globalization where things are getting more and more similar all over the world, it is very important to preserve cultural heritage even in five-star hotels. Yeah, so that leads to the next question. When we talk about cultural differences, how to manage, or how do you teach to manage cultural differences between service staff and customers? For example, I do see that quite often in Phnom Penh at bars or restaurants or hotels, that some tourists, maybe not in the best mood, come and ask for specific things. Service staff doesn't understand it. Customer gets angry.
So it's a very typical experience, especially here, because in the culture, and especially in the countryside, in Cambodia, it's very unpolite to say no. And they feel very bad. They don't want to say no. Like, for instance, you ask for pasta, they don't have the pasta. So it happened to me when I arrived in Phnom Penh, and then they go to hide in the kitchen and they don't come back anymore. And then I didn't get my pasta, but then I was looking around me, and the staff didn't dare to come back, and I could see that the staff was hiding behind the bar sometimes when I was looking at. So, and then I was getting nervous after a while, because that's the minimum requirement. So the thing is, as we said, there are some cultural things here, but we need to, and also there is another cultural thing we need to fight against, is that in the culture here, being at the service of someone means we need to be invisible. Right, so when you are service staff, you are invisible, you are very humble, and that's not what we expect in luxury. We expect them to interact. And that's not so easy for Cambodian standards. So we expect them to interact. We expect them to be self-confident. We expect them to be able to say no if there is a no to be said at some point. And then there is a way to say it to stay polite. First, you need to have the good level of language, of course, because that's the first barrier. So that's why here everything is taught in English, and we teach language. The language is the first barrier. We realize that sometimes they're not that shy, but they don't speak.
Yeah.
So they don't know how to say it. And they don't know how to be subtle, because it's a subtle culture here. We have a lot of ways in Khmer to say, sorry, we could adapt, or yes, but something. All this exists a lot with a lot of subtle ways in Khmer. If they don't have enough English, they will be blocked. So that's why we need to give them enough English to be able to play with those subtleties. Then when they have the English, that's the first barrier, then they need to go beyond the second barrier. The second barrier is most of them in service here come from poor background. So and it's a very hierarchized society where if I'm poor, I must be invisible, I must be laid down, I cannot interact much, I can only say yes. So this kind of thing is not so easy because of this social barrier. Then the third barrier is the cultural barrier, where we know that in Cambodia there is a kind of shyness, right? So people are shy more than in Western world, right? More than in America, for instance. We know that we are not all the same. Even in the Western world, it's very various. French are not the same as American, and not the same as Russian, right? We are all different. Here is the same. So and we have common trends here, and one of the common trend is that most of the people believe that it's not very good manners, not very being well educated to speak too freely. So they take a lot of
opinion,
yes to give a personal opinion is not such a good manner. In service, it doesn't work. You need to be straightforward, but at some point you need to be understood, right? And you need to understand and need to be understood. So that's the third barrier. So when you accumulate those three barriers, it's quite some work to get them at the right level in terms of service. We teach them that. We teach them how to deal with it. We teach them also emotionally how to manage their own emotions, because that's one of the things, right? So you feel the complaint from a French, it can be extremely direct, extremely angry, extremely demanding. And then we teach them how to take a distance from there and focus on the facts. Right, so we have all the systems. So it's a school system, right? They have the point 1, point 2, point 3, but they need to go through that in their mind, and it works. So we teach them, don't worry, they would do that with everybody, right? So don't worry, focus on what happened, right? So and then you have to focus on the root cause. So analyze, question. When they complain, always start with a question. Then the pressure is not on you anymore. You give it back to them. Yeah. And then by questioning, then take notes, try to understand the real problem, the root cause and the thing. And when you have understood, what we had in Rosewood that I liked, we had the staff empowerment program. It means that every staff in Rosewood has an amount of money that they can spend per day per guest. So it means they don't need the approval of the supervisor or the manager or the GM. If they feel that the guest is not happy for some kind of reason, and they believe it's fair, so every staff, the first level of staff, they have the power to recuperate that, to recover it. So to say, first, we are so sorry, it's not the way it should happen, and I'm so sorry about that, that maybe let me offer you this dish, or maybe let me offer you coffee or a free dessert or something. It's not a big amount of money, but they have the right to do it.
Yeah,
so that's empowerment for the staff, and that's how we can bring a good service to the people, because the staff feel they have the power with the money, so they feel authorized.
Yeah.
They feel authorized to do it. And if they feel authorized to do it, they will focus on it. They will focus on making sure that the guest has a good experience.
I think it happens because mostly there's such a big difference, like there's such a big income gap, right, between the staff and the guests, that often they simply cannot afford make this decision by themselves. But since they are authorized by the company, they feel that it's a part of the sort of policy.
Yes.
It's a very clever technique, and I've never heard of this. So maybe we should check in Rosewood and
And it also gives the staff a sense of ownership.
Absolutely.
And what I'm hearing now from all the points that you mentioned, besides preparing your students to be great service staff, is that you actually build up a lot of confidence and try to help them become a better person, right?
Yes, the self-confidence is really something key, especially for the front people, right? The front office, F&B. And to build that, we try to give them or original exposure, meaning in this school we send them outside of Cambodia. When you have experienced something different, another culture, that you have worked with different rhythm, with different speed, with different way, with different environment of work, with different procedures, but with different guests as well. So you have been exposed to something completely different, which gives you a lot of confidence when you come back. Then you have different perspectives, different angles. Having different angles makes you stronger. If you want to have power, you need to have knowledge. And the knowledge we bring them is they don't feel equal because these guests who come to Cambodia, they have traveled all over the world, but they have always been only in Cambodia. This difference is big, right? So, and they will always feel a little bit shy because of they know more about the world than I do. And if you send them to another country and they come back, they realize that it's not that much. They don't know much more. It's not that different. Yeah. So it brings them self-confidence about who they are. And what they did in Cambodia is not wrong. It's quite good, actually. By doing that, by all these little things, we built this confidence. And you were right. That's a key component of the success in the service.
Yeah, we want to look at the service from a different angle. We can see that usually there's young people that work at front desk. They're very, very, very young, right? They are in their 20s. And then we see these established people who can afford to stay in the luxury hotels. So how can this be mitigated?
So actually, first of all, we mentioned the culture here. So I always said that it's good to be born in Western world and to die in the Eastern world, because the children are king in the Western world and the old people are king in the Eastern world. So I did the right choice. I was born in the Western world, so I was a king when I was a child, and now I'm getting older. I'm in the right place because people respect a lot the old people here, much more than in my country. So this said, of course, you see where I want to go. When our young front office or guest relation, very young, these young people have by culture the deepest respect for the old people. And they're not scared of them. They want to care for them, right? They are that's the thing which helps us, actually. They take them as grandma or grandpa, right? And the grandma and grandpa in Cambodia is like being a king. So they want to please them so much. They would do anything for them. That's cultural here.
Yeah, you don't see that much in the West happening anymore.
No, not much, right? And here we use that actually to provide the best service possible, because so we don't need to tell them anything. They will care a lot for the old people. What is difficult is that you mentioned it for the young people, the young guest. It's different. The youngest, they are not the king, the grandpa, the grandma, but they are quite rich, so they have still this difference. But the relation is not so easy, right? So because they wouldn't know how to call them, because in Cambodian we don't say you or I, but we call you by the difference of age you have. So if I call you Poo, I cannot call you Poo, obviously, because I'm older than you, but someone younger than me could call me Poo, and I could call them Kmui. And when I do that, I classify people. And it's very hard to call a guest Kmui. Of course, you can't, because that's creating a proximity that a staff cannot do. So then it's very hard for them when they deal with foreign young people. So they need to get back to the standard. Like they get back to the standard, and they do the minimum standard, and then they try to be as nice as possible. So that's one of the teaching they will learn how to adapt, because everything is about I was adaptation, sitting on my table for the breakfast, and he came to speak with me. And I stayed there 5 days, but each day I had a different mood, and he perfectly adapted to my mood. So some days I needed to talk. I felt lonely. Then he stayed a little bit, and he talked, and he did something. And someday I could feel that I was really concentrated on my things, and I was on my phone, and I was preparing my conference. Then he moved away. So then he knew how to adapt himself, right? So, but that's the same thing. So that's what we teach for all guests. That's what they try to do with the teenagers, with
Little
the
context cues,
little
that you can
context. So they
notice.
need to feel what is expected.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you have young people who expect you to be very direct, very dynamic, very friendly. Okay, fine, but it's not always the case. Especially when the star singer coming from Korea and things. Sometimes they are very friendly and approachable. Sometimes not at all. It's not because they are young that they are very approachable, and they expect a very high standard service with distance. So they need to adapt.
So hard, so many different small nuances that you have to know, right? Because different groups of guests, different ages. There are universals, but ultimately it boils down to emotional intelligence and self-awareness and social awareness, and being very observant and catching the essence.
So do you think in general you could say that the younger generation have different expectations of good service, of great service?
From the Western world, yes, it's very different. They expect much more straightforward service. They expect, but we cannot say that they don't expect luxury, and so they like luxury too, right? If they go to luxury, they like luxury too, and they expect the service to understand that they can change mood, they can change they expected something, they request something else, and they believe that luxury is how a hotel and a service staff can adapt to their changing needs. So that's something we see a lot in the Western world, young Western, quite wealthy coming. That's sometimes the way they behave. Sometimes we rule the eyes in the kitchen, but not in front of them, of course. And in front of them, we try to understand the way
We
they
wanted to
are.
create an episode with an easy answer. We are not going to be able to do this. Service is not an easy thing, and it's a completely complex thing. But actually, I know that you, Francois, and you, Marco, both are very experienced in dealing with guests. So I have prepared 4 reviews from different places, and I'm going to read them to you now. And I want you to tell me which one is fake, the one that I invented myself. Okay? So let's see whose complaint radar is better. So the first review is from Mykonos, Greece. We were charged 70 euros for 2 drinks and 1,200 euros for a meal. When we questioned the bill, the manager just laughed and told us it's normal for Mykonos. This place is a scam. The second one is from Niagara Falls. It reads the following. I've been a professional medium for 15 years, and I'm very sensitive to the dark energies surrounding us. The hotel facility was okay, but when I walked in, I was assaulted by the dark energy emanating from Monica at the front desk. Okay.
Was that you?
Maybe in another life, in another dimension. So the third one is from Rome. We arrived 5 minutes after our reservation time. The waiter had already given the table to others, but they were already eating, so no way they came within the last 5 minutes. After complaining about that, the waiter brought his colleague over and they tried to silently push us out of the restaurant, which obviously didn't work. Never again. Okay, the last one. Horrible food and bad customer service. I ordered my food spicy, and when I received, it was completely bland. I called the waiter to tell him my food wasn't spicy. They cursed me and told me if I ever come to their restaurant again, they will shoot me dead. So I will just recap it for you. In Mykonos, there was a big difference between drinks and food. To be honest, 1,100 euros difference. Normal for Mykonos. Yeah, the second one is about dark energy at the front desk from Monica. The third one is guys pushing the guests out of the restaurant silently in Rome. And the last one is from Monaco. If you ever come here again, we will shoot you dead. So let's start with you, Francois. What do you think?
What surprised me is that at least three are true. At least three are true. I would say I hesitated between the first and the fourth, but I would say the fourth one is the fake one. I don't believe someone would really say that. I would shoot you dead. That's really quite extreme.
Okay, Marco, what do you think?
I would go with the medium because that story just sounds quite made up.
Okay, so today's prize goes to me. You're both wrong. The one where the guy tries to silently push the guy out of the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I invented this one. So basically, out of the four ones, the most normal ones, the one that you can just assume might be true, is the one that
Yeah,
is
that kind of shows the challenges for service staff. Really.
Yes.
Imagine like you don't just have to like deal with the normal stuff, but your energy you has to be
Yes.
How do you reply to that?
Oh, we do the exercise. Actually, how to reply to the comments on TripAdvisor and things like that. So it's really a good exercise for the student. And we don't take them as extreme as this one, but we take them sometimes very bad, right? Very negative.
I have a question out of my own interest because we have the brewery, but we also have a restaurant with beer garden, and we receive a lot of reviews. Most of them are really good, but some of them are not good, and I would always like to comment on this, and in an angry mood, like this is complete.
I will shoot you dead if you come here again.
Yeah, because it's
Certainly
just
not, but
true.
it depends. It depends. Sometimes the comment itself is disqualifying itself, right? So I can tell you a comment in a spa. So it's a little bit rude, but it's true. A comment saying, "Oh, but in your spa there is no happy ending." Great, then happy that that you're not coming back, right? So
That's actually a good review.
Thank you
that
for
was
the advertising.
right. So sometimes it's an extreme one, right? But you see, sometimes some of the reviews disqualify themselves.
Yeah.
So you can reply with a little bit of humor for these ones, right? So and it's really nice. And my friends usually they use humor for this kind of thing. For the others, no, you have to. That's what we teach our students, right? So you have to be always polite. It's the feeling of this customer, and sometimes they are exaggerating and things, but at least you can say, I'm so sorry, right? So it's not what we expect, what our guests would feel. That's for sure. That's not what we expect, what we provide. That's not what we want. So if you feel that way, I feel so sorry because you were my guest. You gave me money, right? First of all, always welcome the feeling. It doesn't mean that the root cause of the feeling is right, but at least the feeling is not the right one you would have in your outlet, right? So that's very important to always welcome the feeling.
So acknowledge the feeling.
Acknowledge and if you have a part of responsibility in what happened, and you recognize some glitch in it, then of course you can say we are so sorry, and it's not our standard. It's not the way it should have been. And then by saying that, you acknowledge that, okay, mistake happened, right? Life with no mistake doesn't exist. Even if high luxury, you always have a small mistake. But that is recognizing the mistake and recognizing that it's not the standard, then, okay. Even if the mistake is bad, you recognize it. You say it's not the standard. It shouldn't have happened that way. It's never the way it happened usually. That's not our reputation, as you can see. And then, of course, if you had a part of a mistake, then you need to recuperate and offer him to come back to get some recovery. If there is no mistake there, but it's just their feeling, and you know what happened, then you still acknowledge the bad feeling. You still tell them, I'm so sorry that you felt like that. We have followed our standard, and you cannot insult him in public. You would lose. So just saying, I'm so sorry about your feeling. I understand that it was a difficult moment for you or something, and then please come back. I hope next time it will be better on something, but never insult, never. But if you stay very professional, very welcoming, friendly, acknowledging that the feeling is bad, but that's not the feeling you wanted, being humble, you win points.
All right, so now we spoke a lot about what service staff can do to have excellent service in a restaurant, hotel, whatever. But we would like to know from your point of view, what can the employer do, or the institution, the restaurant owner, manager, the hotel owner do to improve service other than just hiring great service staff?
Empowering them. First thing, we mentioned it. Empowering the staff, making sure that the staff have the power to recover, are interested in recovering, understand the things. So of course it's leadership, clear and easy standard, but share your vision. For instance, in Rosewood, they teach what is relationship hospitality. That's a concept. And they make them part of it. And they make some workshop with them. And they are, how can we build more relationship hospitality with our guests in a luxury environment? What does it mean? How can I be even stronger in that part? So they do regular workshop with them. So engaging the staff with them for that. So empowering them, giving them power, engaging them by sharing the vision and giving them a voice. And the fourth thing I would encourage to get the best service is like what we do with Accord. They call them, they are not staff, they are artists. They are the heart of the heartist, right, with a heart, okay. Right? So they are the heartist. That's the way they call staff, not associate, not staff, but heartist. I'm a new artist. Oh, please come here, heartist. So they call them heartist, okay. And in all their communication and mails and things, and it means something. So you are the heart of the house. Mm-hmm. You are the one beating, and you are the one showing and sharing this heart with our guest. So in this, it's not only a vague concept, it's also making sure that the staff can be part of it, you expect from them to do the service. I remember a conference I went to with a leadership guy, and then he mentioned something right. So the CEO is not serving the guest, right? So the CEO serves the top manager serves the manager serves the supervisor, and the supervisor serves the staff, that the staff can serve well the guest. So the service is that way and not the other way around. We don't work for the CEO, we work for the guest. And then to work well for the guest, at my service, I have my manager. So it's really, if you understand well this line, it's very important in hospitality. Then you understand how to encourage your staff to get the best service possible. And in the artist concept, it is this, right? So the artist is at the right contact. They are the one in contact with the guest. So that's the one where the beating heart is the most important. And we need to provide all the environment possible for them to be able to do that. So the best experience for the artist, the best experience for the guest you can expect at the end.
You know, you're talking and I have this image of the Wall Street, and these are Wall Street guys that are selling stocks, right? They are usually the stars because they make money for the company. And in a sense, staff are those stars. They make money for the company. So why you treat them like staff? You're supposed to treat them like your best salespeople, so they can grow to this and they can be, and this can be their job. And I think it's a very powerful idea. We are coming to the end of our episode, but it's reframe your own thoughts, maybe be a little bit more humble and recognize the power your staff has over your business as Absolutely. A whole, right? And just to finish this episode on a funny note, we have a question for you, Francois. So we all want to know, will service staff be replaced by AI and robots, or will hospitality remain human?
I'm not knowing the future, but I believe that good service is really human because it's human to human, right? So I'm not sure you will. We see people loving their pets and loving sometimes their computer more than their parents or their brothers and sisters. But I believe the good quality service will always go through human, because it's a human thing, it's a human relation, it's a human connection. We Aristotle, if you allow me to use him, said that the human being is a social animal. We cannot live alone, we cannot live with machines only, so we need to interact. We need to interact between each other. So a good service who would not allow any human interaction would lose 90% of it. So I believe good service would be human. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, maybe I'm not a visionary, but I believe good service should keep that. And probably some easy part could be done by robots or AI, but the luxury part at least should stay human.
And that was the best possible statement to end this episode. Francois, thank you so much for having us here, for giving us all those information, your insights. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francois. It was wonderful. And here comes the end of our 10% service fee. We will see you again in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.